Today we're exploring Registan Square, an awe-inspiring site that has drawn visitors for centuries. This architectural masterpiece stands at the heart of ancient Samarkand, a crucial stop along the fabled Silk Road. Now imagine this, 3 enormous madrasahs, their exteriors adorned with beautiful blue and gold tiles standing proudly against the Central Asian sky. Each building tells a unique story of scholarship, influence and artistic excellence. We'll guide you through time as we explore these stunning structures. You'll learn how they functioned as centres of Islamic education, attracting scholars from across the empire. You're about to enter a world where every tile, arch and courtyard has an intriguing tale to share. Welcome to Registan Square, the crown jewel of the Silk Road. Salam folks, good morning, I hope all is well and welcome back to the channel. Today we are in the heart of the ancient city of Samarkand, Uzbekistan, and we are exploring the sublime Registan Square. In the last number of years this place has been high on both mine and Lupe's bucket list, and we're really looking forward to getting stuck in. It has outstanding architecture and it's historically significant, being located along the ancient network of trade routes that connected the east and west from China to the Mediterranean Sea, which was known as the Silk Route. So come along and join us as we jump into this amazing part of Central Asia. It's really crazy when you look back over many months and many years when you plan a trip and then one day you're finally here. But before we go any further, if you can subscribe to the channel, smash that notification bell and give it a like, that will do wonders for the channel. Thank you so much, let's do it. So it's much more windy here today, so hopefully you can hear me on camera. But basically this square here was originally a bustling bazaar and it was very important for trade and commerce in the region. This place was a popular meeting place for locals as well as travellers. And in more recent history, Samarkand was included in the UNESCO World Heritage List all the way back in 2001. And very interestingly, translated from Uzbek, Registan means sand place. So obviously in ancient times this square would have been just covered in sand. So in the 14th century, Tamerlan conquered Samarkand and he brought about a period of architectural and cultural development. We were actually in his mausoleum yesterday, so I'll put a link up here to that video. He commissioned the building of many important sites around the city, including Registan Square. And obviously the great madrasahs that we see here today weren't always here. These unbelievable structures would appear much later down the line. Before the authorities here constructed the madrasahs, this place was a public square where people would come and have chats, meet up, and it also would have hosted public executions. At the moment we're just outside here, we're basically beside the viewing area where you can see the structure itself, but I think it's about time we go inside. We're just passing through the photo area now. There are so many people, you can probably see here behind me. This is where you want to get your Instagram photo. It's the perfect place, and yeah, there's people even here getting their wedding photos taken. Seeing the big white wedding dress, sparkling, beautiful here. So we're going in here now to get the tickets. I hope it's not like the mausoleum yesterday, Tamerlan's mausoleum, where you have to buy your ticket and also pay for taking photos as well. Bit of a robbery, but yeah, they seem to be doing it here a lot. Hopefully not here. Cost in is 50,000 som each, plus again I was right, 30,000 extra to bring in your camera, take pictures. And the girl selling the tickets as well told us at night between 9 to 10 there's going to be a lights show and live music, so we might hopefully try and stick around for that. It sounds like it would be amazing here in this setting. Wow, this is absolutely unbelievable. So as you come inside, there are 3 main buildings. The first madrasah to be built here in the square is on the left. It's called Ulugh Beg Madrasah, and this was completed in 1420. So this madrasah was named after Ulugh Beg. He was a Timur prince and he was a keen astronomer. He was also known for his contributions to Islamic scholarship. And if you look at the panel above the arch, you can see stars, which obviously represent astronomy and all that side of it. So it is very cool, it's very intricate, very detailed, and very, very beautiful. In 1417, Ulugh Beg actually gave the orders to have this madrasa built, and little did he know that in the future it would be named after him. And so this was the first erection here in Registan Square. And if you weren't familiar, the word madrasa stems from the Arabic language, which means learning and place literally. This madrasa is located on the west side of the square, and it's built in a rectangular shape. And inside of here there is a square yard at the back, and this is where it would have housed all the students, about 100 rooms to be precise. And in here students would have learned philosophy, astronomy, maths and theology. I think it's time to go inside now and see what it is like for ourselves. Just a little side note as well, we're here around the 20th of August, and while it's busy enough, it's definitely not one of the busiest sites we've seen before, so August seems like a very good time to come here. We're heading now to where all the kids would have been roomed into another little garden square here at the back, and it looks really beautiful. There's a few vendors here selling different things like this here, magnets, teddies, somehow it usually happens in these sites. You can get obviously the dress as well, Uzbek clothes, yeah, you name it. It's your typical kind of tourist site vendor shop. To be honest, I think it kind of takes away from the beautiful site that we're in, all these shops and stalls, but you know, people have to make a living somehow, I suppose. And I'm imagining that all the rooms here where the shops are now, they would have been the rooms where the students would be living. They would have this square obviously where they could come out and learn about subjects that I mentioned earlier, so you can see how it would have worked here back in the day, which is very cool, I think. And there's an exhibition here in this room at the very back, the history of education in Samarkand. And yes, you can see here some of the textbooks that were used in the classroom when the students would have been learning in here. This is obviously the school, where the rooms where they would have slept and stayed. So Ulugh Beg would have lectured here himself. He would have been very much interested in that side of things as well. So these rooms are absolutely beautiful. There's an exhibition going on now and a little museum as well, you could say, but it's heavily renovated, it's very obvious, and I think that kind of takes away a little bit from some of the history, some of it being real, you know, it kind of takes away from that side of it, which isn't as good. But I understand they have to keep it going, they have to keep it maintained to some extent, but I would have just preferred if it was a little bit older looking, a little bit more retro. 2 centuries after the construction of this madrasa, they would complete the other 2 madrasahs, which would complete the ensemble that we see here in Registan Square today. Also important to note that the age group in the madrasa here would vary a lot, anywhere between the ages of 15 to 45. And this place is a really good place apparently to take your wedding photos. If you look outside on the madrasa, obviously you can see it's extremely beautifully decorated, the mosaics are unbelievable, but the writing actually provided information about the construction itself, and it was valuable information at the time for the people who would have been in this region. Basically all the inscriptions here have a very deep meaning. Here I am now with Ulugh Beg and some of his apprentices here behind me. This museum is very detailed, very educational, and yeah, it helps out a lot with learning about this place and its history, and it's as beautiful as the outside. I like it, I think it suits. What do you think? So we're in this amazing little tiny coffee shop up above the madrasa, and we're going to have it as we look down upon the square here where the students would have stayed. They would have been out here while they were attending the madrasah, so very unique, and this is probably one of the most picturesque places I'm going to have a cup of tea in my life. So I have to confirm that this is by far the most picturesque place I've ever had a cup of tea, and no better way to have a nice tea from Samarkand than here in Registan Square. Look at that. Ah, tremendous. So absolutely delighted there as well. We're after getting a pencil case and a book stand made of walnut. They look really cool and they're made here in Samarkand as well, so delighted with that. Wow, you can see the difference there now. There is barely anybody left here in Registan Square. It's currently lunchtime, so maybe this is a top tip and the best time you should come here. So I just had a guy come over telling me he was the manager of Registan Square and that if I wanted to go up to the top of the minaret. We've seen people up there before, but I don't think officially people are allowed up. I think if you give them a little money on the side, they're going to bring you up. Maybe we'll do that later and see what the views are like up there, maybe around sunset. So behind me here is Sher-Dor Madrasah. This is the second building to come up here inside the square. In 1612, Ulugh Bahadur was appointed Emir of Samarkand. He built Sher-Dor Madrasah and it was completed in the 1630s. And as you can see behind me, it is known for its vivid blue tiles and its intricate mosaic. If you look up to the top, you will see the tiger motifs, and that's where it gets its name. You can see two of them standing tall on its beautiful facade. Basically, the reason why this madrasah is here, Bahadur wanted to construct one exactly opposite the one that Ulugh Beg had constructed. This madrasah was to be located on the eastern side, reflecting exactly that of Ulugh Beg's construction. However, the exact mirroring did not happen in the end, and there's a very interesting reason why. 200 years have passed since Ulugh Beg's construction here behind me was built, and the building itself actually shrunk 2 meters into the ground, so it's much more lower than the square level where I'm standing right now. How unbelievably crazy is that? This is absolutely spectacular here. It's very clear to me now why Samarkand is known as the jewel of the East. Wow, this is absolutely amazing. You can see here we're into another courtyard similar to one that we saw over at Ulugh Beg's, but this is a little bit more open. Again, you have all these vendors selling their gifts, souvenirs, all that sort of thing. Very friendly, very skillful, and it's just sitting in here in an absolute beautiful, beautiful square here, and I could just spend hours here, to be honest. Everything is just so symmetrical and perfect. There's barely any rubbish around. It's very clean. It's just amazing. So here behind me is where the students would have stayed up until the 19th century, and it's amazing to be in such a historically significant place like this. I have to note as well that the vendors selling things here are definitely not as pushy as they were in India. Just something we noted. Nothing against Indian people, they've been absolutely fantastic and we love them all, but it's just a cultural thing probably where they like to push a little bit harder, but here much more relaxed and we like that. So just getting a bit of shade under a tree here now in Sher-Dor's courtyard. And to be honest, I think this one is a little bit nicer than Ulugh Beg. There's more room here, it's less cramped, it's less crowded, and you can really just sit back like we are now, enjoying the facade, enjoying the construction in front of us, and it is really beautiful. Lupe thinks the same too. I have to say, I think this is one of the most beautiful squares I've ever been in. That was absolutely superb. But now it's time to go on to Tilya-Kori Madrasah, the third and final construction here in Registan Square. So the Tilya-Kori Madrasah was built in the mid 17th century. They were named after the gold embroidered prayer mats that were used inside its classroom. Apparently there was major restoration work started here in the 20th century. 10 years after the construction of Sherdor Madrasah, Bahadur wanted to complete the ensemble here and build a third and final building, which we are standing underneath right now. And construction began here in 1646 in the northern part of Registan Square. I'm sure if you noticed and were looking at the buildings, they're basically a copy of one another, and they just wanted to put this one in the north side of the complex. Construction of Tilla-Kori Madrasah lasted 14 years and it was finished in 1660. To be honest, a lot of these minarets and domes that are sticking up out of the ground, they look like they're going to fall over. They're at a very lopsided angle, and I'm sure they obviously have it well under control, but it doesn't look great to me. To be fair, I think it's accurate to say that this construction at the north of the square balances well with the other two madrasas who sit opposite each other in the square. So we're going to go into the mosque now, and of course you have to cover your legs and knees if they're showing, from your elbows down to your hands if they're showing as well. So normally they have something you can wear over. We've done that in a few different mosques and a few different places throughout our travels. To be honest, this is exceptionally beautiful in here. It's just glowing really, and you're allowed to take photos in here for once. Lupe making an appearance. Quite something, lit up very well, and I have to say the grandeur in Registan Square is like I haven't seen before, to be honest. It's just amazing to be in such a place. But I have to say, no matter where we go, they always manage to fit in a few gift shops and a few souvenir shops, because if you look down here in the mosque, you have a mosque behind me, and then you have all the souvenir shops down here. Typical. Throughout its history, Registan Square has been a symbol of Samarkand's cultural and intellectual achievements. It has also been the site of social and political events, including protests against the Soviet Union in the 20th century. Today it's very clear that the square is a very popular tourist attraction and a testament to the endurance and legacy of Islamic art here in Central Asia. We're going to reflect on Tilya-Kori Madrasah. Probably the least impressive, if I'm honest. It doesn't have 2 levels like the other 2 madrasas had, but still you can sit around here, chill out, enjoy the detail, the beautiful colours, and I'd still recommend coming here. Samarkand has an amazing history, but it always wasn't plain sailing. In the late 17th century there was an economic downturn here, which resulted in Bukhara becoming the regional capital. All the ancient merchants travelling along the ancient Silk Route would have avoided Samarkand and instead went to Bukhara. And it's really amazing, at that time the population here in Samarkand would have been reduced to about 1,000 families, which is absolutely tiny. And once that happened, the amazing madrassas that we're surrounded by at the moment would have actually become refuge for animals, so it would have fallen into disarray here. It would have been about 1875 when Samarkand recovered and finally gained its importance again along the ancient Silk Route. It would have been at that time that Registan Square was reconnected and rebuilt to look like what it is today.